Captain Jake Stone pressed his face against the small window of his ship and looked out at the red planet below. Kepler 442b looked peaceful from up here, but he knew better. The intelligence report said alien ships had been spotted in this area for weeks. His job was simple: get in, take pictures, and get out before anyone noticed. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings on the scanner," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from the pilot's seat. She was young, maybe 25, with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes. This was only her third mission with Stone, but she was already proving herself to be one of the best pilots he had ever worked with. Stone walked over to look at her screen. Red dots were moving around the edge of their scanner range. Too many red dots. "How many ships are we looking at, Carter?" "I count at least 12, sir, maybe more." Amy's voice stayed calm, but Stone could hear the worry underneath. "They're moving fast, really fast." From the back of the ship, Sergeant Pete Murphy called out, "Captain, you need to see this." Pete was their engineer, a big man with thick arms and a bushy red beard. He had been fixing ships for 20 years and knew every sound they should and shouldn't make. Stone walked to the back where Pete was staring at his instruments. "What is it, Murphy?" "Someone's been messing with our engines, sir. The fuel lines have been cut in 3 places. We're leaking fuel fast." Pete wiped his hands on a dirty rag and shook his head. "We've got maybe 10 minutes of power left. After that, we're floating dead in space." Stone felt his stomach drop. This was a trap. Someone had sabotaged their ship before they left Earth. Someone wanted them to be stuck here, helpless, when the alien ships arrived. "Carter, can you get us out of here?" Stone asked, running back to the front of the ship. Amy was already working on it, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm trying, sir, but the engines won't respond. We're losing power fast." The red dots on the scanner were getting closer. Stone could see them through the window now. Sleek silver ships that moved like fish swimming through water. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Contact Earth Command," Stone ordered. "Tell them we're in trouble." Amy tried the radio, but only static came through. "No good, sir. They're jamming our communications." The alien ships surrounded them in a perfect circle. Stone had never seen anything like it. They moved together like they shared one mind, never bumping into each other, never making a wrong turn. It was like watching a dance. One of the alien ships came closer. It was 3 times bigger than Stone's ship, with no visible weapons, but somehow it looked more dangerous than anything Stone had ever seen. A bright blue light shot out from the alien ship and wrapped around Stone's vessel like a rope. "They've got us with some kind of tractor beam," Amy reported. "I can't break free." Stone watched as his ship was slowly pulled toward the alien vessel. A huge door opened in the side of the bigger ship, and they were dragged inside. The door closed behind them with a sound like thunder. Emergency lights flashed as their ship was gently set down on the floor of what looked like a giant hangar. Stone could see dozens of other captured ships from different worlds. Some he recognized as human vessels. Others looked like nothing he had ever seen before. "Stay calm," Stone told his crew. "Remember your training. Name, rank, and serial number. Nothing else." The hangar filled with a strange green gas. Stone tried to hold his breath, but the gas found its way into his lungs anyway. It didn't hurt, but it made him feel sleepy and confused. His vision became blurry, and his legs felt weak. Through the fog in his mind, he saw tall, thin figures approaching their ship. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but they were much taller, maybe 7 feet high. Their skin was pale blue, and their heads were larger than human heads. They wore long white robes that seemed to glow with their own light. The aliens opened the door of Stone's ship without any trouble, as if they had the key all along. Stone tried to fight as they grabbed him, but the gas had made his muscles weak. He could barely stand up. "Captain?" Amy called out as the aliens dragged her away. Her voice sounded far away, even though she was right next to him. "Stay strong," Stone managed to say before everything went black. When Stone woke up, he was lying on a hard metal bed in a small white room. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all the same bright white color that hurt his eyes. There were no windows and only one door, which had no handle on his side. His head felt clear again, but his body was sore. He sat up slowly and looked around. The room was completely empty, except for the bed and a small drain in the floor. The air smelled, clean but cold like the inside of a hospital. Stone checked his uniform. His weapons were gone, along with his communication device and anything else that might be useful. Even his wedding ring was missing. That made him angry. The ring had belonged to his wife Lisa, and it was the only thing he had left of her. Walked to the door and pushed on it, but it wouldn't move. He pounded on it with his fists and shouted, "Hey, where are my people? What did you do with my crew?" No one answered. Stone sat back down on the bed and tried to think. The mission had been a setup from the beginning. Someone on Earth had wanted them to be captured, but who? And why? Hours passed, or maybe days. It was hard to tell time in the white room with no windows. Stone did push-ups and sit-ups to stay strong. He thought about Amy and Pete and hoped they were okay. He thought about Earth and wondered if anyone knew they were missing yet. Most of all, he thought about Lisa. She had always told him to stay strong, no matter what happened. "You're tougher than you think, Jake," she used to say. "You can handle anything they throw at you." He was going to need that strength now, because when that door finally opened, Stone knew his real test was just beginning. The door to Stone's cell opened with a soft hiss. Two tall alien guards stood in the doorway, wearing the same glowing white robes he had seen before. They didn't speak, but one of them pointed down the hallway with a long, thin finger. Stone stood up slowly. His body was stiff from sleeping on the hard metal bed, but his mind was sharp. He had been waiting for this moment. Whatever they wanted from him, he was ready. The guards walked on either side of him as they moved through long white corridors. The walls were smooth and curved, like the inside of a giant egg. Soft blue lights ran along the ceiling, giving everything a cold underwater feeling. They passed other rooms with doors like his. Stone wondered if Amy and Pete were behind one of those doors. He tried to listen for any sounds, but the hallway was completely silent except for the soft padding of their feet. After what felt like 10 minutes of walking, they stopped at a much larger door. It slid open to reveal a round room with a high ceiling. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and alien writing that Stone couldn't read. In the center of the room sat a creature unlike the guards. This one was shorter, maybe 6 feet tall, with darker blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow with their own light. It wore a robe that was silver instead of white, and around its neck hung a chain with strange symbols. "Sit," the creature said, in perfect English. Its voice was smooth and cold like ice water. Stone looked at the chair in front of the creature. It was made of the same white metal as everything else in this place. He sat down but kept his back straight, and his eyes focused on the alien's face. "I am Veltar," the creature said. "I speak for the Zephyrian Coalition. You are Captain Jake Stone of the Terran Defense Fleet." Stone said nothing. Veltar smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp and too white. "You do not need to confirm this. We know everything about you already. We know about your ship, your crew, your mission. We even know about your dead wife." Stone's jaw tightened, but he kept his mouth shut. "You are wondering why you are here," Veltar continued. He stood up and walked around Stone's chair like a shark circling its prey. "Your species fascinates us. Humans are so emotional, so unpredictable. We have been watching Earth for some time now." The alien stopped in front of Stone and leaned forward. "We want to understand how human military forces work, how you think, how you fight, how you break." Stone looked straight ahead and said, "Jake Stone, Captain. Service number 2274891. Veltar laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. "Yes, yes. Name, rank, and serial number. We expected this. Your training is quite predictable." The alien walked to one of the wall screens and touched it with his finger. The screen lit up with pictures of Earth, cities, forests, oceans. Then it showed pictures of human soldiers in battle. "Your species has been fighting wars for thousands of years," Veltar said, "always killing each other over land, resources, beliefs. You are a violent, primitive race. This is why the Coalition has decided that humanity must be controlled." Stone kept his eyes on the wall. but he could feel anger building in his chest. "We are not here to destroy you," Veltar continued. "We are civilized beings. We will simply guide you, help you become better, more peaceful, more like us." The alien touched the screen again. Now it showed pictures of other worlds, places where the buildings looked like the ship Stone was on now. Everything was white and clean and perfect. "These planets used to have violent species like yours," Veltar explained. "We helped them evolve. We taught them to give up their primitive emotions. Now they live in peace under our guidance." Stone could see that the beings in the pictures all had the same empty look in their eyes. They moved like robots with no expression on their faces. "But first, we must understand your military capabilities," Veltar said, turning back to Stone. "How many ships does Earth have? Where are your defensive stations? What new weapons are you developing?" "Jake Stone, Captain, service number 2748961. Veltar sighed and walked back to his chair. "Captain Stone, you are making this harder than it needs to be. We will get this information from you eventually. We have methods that your kind cannot resist." The alien held up one hand, and Stone felt a strange tingling in his head. It was like someone was trying to push their way into his thoughts. The feeling got stronger, and Stone could sense Veltar searching through his memories. But something was wrong. The alien's face showed confusion, then frustration. "Interesting," Veltar muttered. "Your mind is different, harder to read than other humans we have captured." Stone smiled for the first time since being captured. His old drill sergeant had always said that humans were tougher than they looked. Maybe that included their minds, too. Veltar tried again, pressing harder. Stone felt like someone was driving nails into his skull, but he held on. He thought about his training, about his duty to protect Earth, about Amy and Pete counting on him to stay strong. After several minutes, Veltar pulled back with a frustrated hiss. "No matter. We have other ways." The alien touched another screen, and a new image appeared. It was a video of Amy and Pete in their own white room. They looked scared but unharmed. "Your crew is safe for now," Veltar said. "But their safety depends on your cooperation. Answer our questions and they will be treated well. Refuse and—" The alien left the threat hanging in the air. Stone felt his anger growing stronger. These creatures thought they could use his friends against him. They thought human emotions made them weak. "You have one day to think about it," Veltar said. "Tomorrow we will try again. And Captain Stone, tomorrow will be much less pleasant for all of you." The guards returned and led Stone back to his cell. As he walked through the corridors, he could see other rooms with other prisoners. Humans from different ships, all captured and brought here for the same purpose. But Stone noticed something the aliens had missed. In every face he saw, in every pair of human eyes, there was something that couldn't be broken or controlled. It was the same thing he felt burning in his own chest. It was the refusal to give up, the determination to fight back, the stubborn human spirit that had carried their species through ice ages and wars and disasters for thousands of years. Veltar thought he understood humans. He thought their emotions made them weak. But he was about to learn that human emotions could be the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. Stone lay down on his metal bed and began to plan. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. Stone had been awake for hours when the guards came for him again. He had spent the night thinking about Lisa, about Amy and Pete, about Earth. The aliens thought they knew humans, but they had no idea what they were dealing with. The walk to the interrogation room felt longer this time. Stone noticed more details in the corridors. Small cameras in the walls, air vents near the ceiling, emergency panels that might be useful later. His military training kicked in automatically, cataloging everything that might help him escape. When he entered the round room, Stone saw that things had changed. The walls were now covered with screens showing images from Earth, pictures of cities, families, children playing in parks. It was beautiful and painful to see home so far away. Veltar was waiting for him, but he wasn't alone. 3 other aliens sat in chairs around the room. They were different from the guards. smaller with larger heads and eyes that seemed to record everything they saw. "Captain Stone," Veltar said with that cold smile, "I hope you slept well. Today we have an audience." Stone looked at the other aliens. They were watching him like scientists studying a bug under a microscope. "These are representatives from the Coalition Council," Veltar explained. "They want to see how humans respond to pressure. Your reactions will be broadcast to worlds across the galaxy as part of our educational program." Stone noticed red lights blinking on several cameras around the room. They were recording everything. "Sit," Veltar commanded. Stone remained standing. "I'll stand, thanks." Veltar's smile disappeared. "I said sit. I heard you." The alien made a gesture, and Stone felt that same pressure in his head as before. But this time it was stronger, like someone was squeezing his brain with giant hands. The pain was incredible, but Stone gritted his teeth and stayed on his feet. "Impressive," one of the other aliens said in a voice like wind through dead leaves. "This one has unusual mental resistance." "All humans are stubborn," Veltar replied. "But they all break eventually." The pressure in Stone's head suddenly stopped. He swayed a little but didn't fall. "Yesterday you refused to answer our questions," Veltar said. "Today we will try a different approach. We have learned much about human psychology. You are driven by emotional attachments to your planet, your species, your individual relationships." The screens around the room changed. Now they showed pictures of Stone himself, his graduation from the military academy, his wedding day, his promotion to captain. Someone had gone through his entire life and collected every image they could find. "We know that humans form strong bonds with their mates," Veltar continued. "These bonds often last even after death. Very primitive, but useful for our purposes." Stone's blood ran cold. He had a bad feeling about where this was going. "Tell me about Lisa," Veltar said casually. Stone's hands clenched into fists. "That's not your business." "Oh, but it is." Veltar touched one of the screens, and it filled with pictures of Lisa, Stone's wife, smiling at their wedding, laughing at a picnic, working in her garden. The images were so clear and detailed that Stone could almost smell her perfume. "Lisa Marie Stone," Veltar read from what looked like an official file. "Born March 15, 2387, died October 8, 2422. Cause of death, mining accident on Europa." The other aliens leaned forward, watching Stone's face for any reaction. "She was a mining engineer," Veltar continued. "Worked in the deep tunnels under Europa's ice. Very dangerous work. The accident report makes for interesting reading." Stone's jaw was so tight it hurt. Don't what, Captain? Don't tell the truth?" "The tunnel collapsed during a routine inspection. 17 workers died. Lisa was trapped for 6 hours before the rescue teams could reach her." The screens now showed the mining station on Europa, the cold gray buildings on the surface, the deep shafts that went down into the ice. Stone remembered visiting Lisa there once. She had been so proud of her work, so excited about the minerals they were finding. According to the report, she was still alive when they found her, Veltar said, his voice getting colder. But her injuries were too severe. She died on the way to the medical station. Stone closed his eyes, but he could still see Lisa's face in his mind, the way she looked when he had to identify her body, the way she had looked so small and broken. "The interesting thing is," Veltar continued, "she called your name. The rescue workers heard her. Even with her ribs crushed and her lungs filling with blood, she kept saying Jake over and over." "Stop," Stone whispered. "She was calling for you, but you weren't there. You were on patrol duty 3 systems away. By the time you got the message, she had been dead for 2 days." The cameras around the room zoomed in on Stone's face. The other aliens were taking notes, recording every expression, every sign of pain. "Tell me, Captain Stone," Veltar said, standing up and walking closer. "Was she worth it? This dead female you still carry in your heart? She was just another expendable human worker, one of billions. What made her special?" Stone opened his eyes. They were wet, but his voice was steady. "Everything. Everything." Veltar laughed. She worked in a hole in the ground. She produced nothing of value. She died because she was too weak to survive a simple accident. How is that everything? You wouldn't understand. Try me. Veltar was enjoying this now. Explain to the galaxy why one unremarkable human female deserves such devotion, why you still wear her ring on a chain around your neck, why you talk to her picture every night before you sleep. Stone looked at the cameras, at the aliens watching him, at Veltar's cruel smile. They thought they had found his weakness. They thought they could break him by attacking Lisa's memory. They were wrong. You want to know about Lisa? Stone said quietly. You want to understand what made her special? Please, enlighten us. Stone took a deep breath. She was brave. She went down into those tunnels every day knowing they were dangerous because the work mattered. She was kind. She sent half her pay home to her parents on Mars. She was smart. She had 3 engineering degrees and spoke 4 languages. And now she's dead, Veltar said. All that intelligence, all that kindness, gone. Wasted. No, Stone said, his voice getting stronger. She's not gone. She's right here. He touched his chest. In me. In everyone who knew her. In the work. She did that still keeping people safe. Sentiment, Veltar snorted. Useless emotion. You think so? Stone looked directly at the main camera. You want to know what humans are really like? You want to understand what makes us different from you? The room fell silent. Even the other aliens stopped taking notes. We don't just fight for territory or resources, Stone said. We fight for each other. Every human soldier carries the memory of everyone they've ever loved. Every time we face danger, we're fighting for all the people who matter to us. Stone's voice was getting louder now, filling the room. Lisa isn't my weakness. She's my strength. She's the reason I get up every morning. She's the reason I'll never give you what you want. Veltar's confident smile was starting to fade. You made a mistake, Stone continued. You thought bringing up Lisa would break me, but you just reminded me what I'm fighting for. And now I'm going to show you what happens when you threaten the people humans love. The red lights on the cameras blinked faster. Across the galaxy, other species were watching this broadcast, seeing something they had never seen before. A human turning grief into power, love into strength. Veltar realized too late that his psychological attack had backfired completely. The human wasn't broken. He was more dangerous than ever. Stone looked around the room at all the cameras, all the aliens watching him, all the screens that were broadcasting his words across the galaxy. Veltar had made a terrible mistake. He had given Stone exactly what he needed, an audience. You want to study humans? Stone said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of barely controlled power. You want to understand what makes us tick? Then pay attention, because you're about to get a lesson you'll never forget. Veltar tried to regain control. Silence him, he ordered the guards, but the other aliens held up their hands. No, said the one with the wind voice. Let him speak. This is educational. Stone smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just realized his prey had walked into a trap. Lisa wasn't just my wife, Stone began. She was a mining engineer who spent her days 3 miles under the ice of Europa, making sure the tunnels were safe for other workers. Do you know why she did that job? Because someone had to. Because if those tunnels collapsed, hundreds of people would die. The cameras focused on Stone's face as he spoke. His voice was steady, but there was something burning behind his eyes. Every morning, Lisa kissed me goodbye and went down into those dark, dangerous tunnels. Not because she had to. She could have gotten an easier job on the surface. She did it because she cared about the people who worked with her. She did it because that's what humans do. We take care of each other. Veltar was starting to look uncomfortable. This wasn't going the way he had planned. The day she died, Stone continued, Lisa was doing an extra safety check on Tunnel 7. She wasn't supposed to be there. Her shift was over, but she had noticed some stress fractures in the wall and she wanted to make sure they weren't dangerous. Stone paused, letting his words sink in. Across the galaxy, other species were listening to this broadcast, hearing something they had never heard before. The tunnel collapsed while she was inside. 17 people were trapped. But here's what your intelligence reports probably didn't tell you. Lisa saved 11 of them, even after the ceiling came down. Even with her ribs broken and her legs crushed, she used her engineering knowledge to shore up the remaining supports. She kept that tunnel from collapsing completely until the rescue teams could get the survivors out. The room was completely silent now. Even the aliens seemed to be holding their breath. She died calling my name, Stone said, his voice getting stronger. But do you know what else she was saying? The rescue workers told me later she was giving instructions. Even as she was dying, she was telling them how to save the others. Stone stood up slowly. The guards moved toward him, but Veltar waved them back. He was transfixed by what he was hearing. That's what you don't understand about humans, Stone continued. You think love makes us weak. You think caring about other people is a flaw. But it's our greatest strength. Every human carries the love of everyone who matters to them. We fight harder, think faster, and never give up because we know that other people are counting on us. The screens around the room were showing reactions from across the galaxy now. On some worlds, alien leaders were leaning forward, listening carefully. On others, crowds had gathered to watch the broadcast. You want to know about human military tactics? Stone asked, looking directly at the main camera. Here's your lesson. We don't just fight for our countries or our planets, we fight for our families, our friends, our loved ones. Every soldier carries the memory of everyone they've ever cared about into battle. Stone began to pace around the room like a caged tiger. The aliens watched him nervously. When a human soldier charges into enemy fire, he's not just following orders. He's protecting his children back home. He's honoring his parents who raised him. He's fighting for his wife who kisses him goodbye every morning. He's standing up for his buddies who have his back. Veltar tried to interrupt. This is just emotion talking. Primitive sentiment. Is it? Stone turned on him, and for a moment, Veltar actually stepped backward. Let me tell you about emotions, alien. Fear keeps us alive, anger gives us strength. Love gives us something worth dying for. And grief. Grief turns us into something you can't imagine. Stone's voice was rising now, filling the room with raw power. You killed my wife by attacking that mining station. You killed Amy's brother when you destroyed the research base on Titan. You killed Pete's father when you bombed the shipping lanes near Mars. Every human you've hurt, every family you've destroyed, every life you've taken, we remember all of it. The other aliens were taking notes frantically now. This wasn't what they had expected to learn about humans. You think you can control us by threatening the people we love, Stone continued, but you've got it backwards. Every threat you make, every person you hurt, every cruel thing you do just makes us more dangerous. Because now we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone. Stone stopped pacing and looked directly at Veltar. You wanted to break me by talking about Lisa, but all you did was remind me why I'm here, why I'll never give you the information you want. Why I'll fight you with my last breath. The alien leader was starting to realize his mistake. The human wasn't broken. He was more dangerous than ever. You see, Veltar, Stone said quietly, you made one critical error in your assessment of our species. You studied our history, our wars, our technology, but you never understood our hearts. Stone spread his arms wide, addressing not just the aliens in the room but every species watching the broadcast. Humans don't fight because we're violent or primitive. We fight because we love. We love our families, our friends, our homes, our freedom. And when someone threatens what we love, we become something you've never seen before. The cameras captured everything. The fire in Stone's eyes, the strength in his voice, the absolute certainty in his words. You want to conquer Earth? You want to control humanity? Then you better understand what you're up against. You're not fighting an army or a government or a planet. You're fighting every parent who wants to protect their children, every spouse who refuses to be separated from their mate, every friend who won't abandon their buddy, every human who has ever loved someone more than they love themselves. Stone looked around the room one more time, meeting the eyes of every alien present. "Lisa died 3 years ago," he said. "But she's not gone. She lives in me, in my memories, in my determination to protect others the way she protected her co-workers. And there are billions of humans just like me, carrying the love of everyone they've ever lost, everyone they're trying to protect, everyone who matters to them." Stone sat back down in his chair, but somehow he looked bigger than before, more dangerous, more threatening than any weapon. "So go ahead," he said calmly. "Ask me your questions. Threaten my crew. Try to break me. But understand this. Every word you speak, every cruel thing you do, just proves to the galaxy that you don't understand the first thing about what makes humans human." The room fell silent. Across the galaxy, the broadcast continued, and other species began to whisper among themselves. They had expected to see a primitive species being broken by superior beings. Instead, they had witnessed something that would change everything. The power of human love turned into an unbreakable weapon. The silence in the interrogation room stretched on for what felt like forever. Stone sat in his chair, calm and steady, while the aliens around him struggled to understand what had just happened. The cameras were still rolling, still broadcasting, his words across the galaxy. Veltar was the first to recover. His face had turned a darker shade of blue, and his glowing eyes were narrowed with anger. "Enough of this nonsense," he said, but his voice wasn't as confident as before. "Guards, take him back to his cell." "Wait," said the alien with the wind voice. She stood up from her chair and walked closer to Stone. "This is fascinating. Continue." "Speaking human." "There's nothing more to hear," Veltar snapped. "This is just emotional rambling from a primitive species." But the other council members were looking at their recording devices with worried expressions. Numbers and data were scrolling across their screens faster than Stone could read them. "Veltar," said another council member, this one shorter and rounder than the others. "We're receiving reports from across the coalition. Other species are reacting to this broadcast." "What kind of reactions?" Veltar demanded. The round alien touched his screen, and new images appeared on the walls. They showed crowds gathering on different worlds. Some aliens, some creatures Stone had never seen before. They were all watching the broadcast of his interrogation. "The Kethari are asking questions about their own conquered worlds," the round alien reported. "The Milani delegation has requested an emergency meeting. 3 Outer Rim species have filed formal complaints about coalition methods." Stone watched the screens with growing amazement. His words were spreading across the galaxy like wildfire, and other species were starting to think about what he had said. "This is temporary confusion," Veltar said quickly. "These species will remember their place soon enough." But even as he spoke, more reports were coming in. The screen showed alien leaders in heated discussions, protesters gathering in city squares, and news broadcasts in languages Stone couldn't understand. "There's something else," said the wind-voiced alien quietly. "We're detecting unusual activity. In the human territories, ships are moving, communications are increased. It appears that they heard the broadcast too." Stone felt a surge of hope. If other humans had heard his words, if they knew what was happening here, then maybe Amy and Pete and all the other prisoners wouldn't die in this place. Veltar was getting more agitated by the minute. "It doesn't matter what they heard. Humans are weak. They'll surrender when they see our full power." "Will they?" The wind-voiced alien was studying Stone like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. "Tell me, human, what will your people do now? Will they come for you?" Stone looked her in the eyes. "They'll come. But not just for me." "Explain." "You've been capturing humans for months," Stone said. "Taking our ships, our people, our friends. Every human on every world heard what I just said. They know now that their missing loved ones are here in your prisons being tortured for information." The alien's large eyes grew even wider. "And this changes what?" Stone's smile was cold and dangerous. "You've never fought humans before, have you? You've fought other species that surrender when they're outnumbered. Species that give up when the odds are against them, but humans, they were different." The screens around the room were now showing space around Earth. Ships were moving everywhere. Military vessels, cargo haulers, even civilian craft. They were all heading in the same direction. You want to know what humans do when someone threatens our families? Stone continued. We don't calculate odds. We don't worry about losses. We don't negotiate. We come for our people, and we don't stop until we get them back. More reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. The round alien was reading them with growing alarm. Coalition Command is reporting massive human fleet movements in 17 systems. They're not following normal military patterns. What do you mean? Veltar demanded. They're not protecting their important worlds or military bases, the alien explained. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon they have is moving toward one target. Stone knew what that target was. Here. The room erupted in confused alien chatter. Veltar was shouting orders at his assistants, demanding more information, more data, more analysis. But Stone could see the fear in his glowing eyes. You don't understand, Stone said, raising his voice above the noise. You think this is just about military strategy. You think humans fight like other species, weighing costs and benefits, making careful plans. The alien stopped talking and looked at him. But you heard me talk about Lisa, about love, about what happens when humans lose someone they care about. Stone's voice was getting stronger again. Every human out there knows that their friends, their family members, their loved ones are prisoners in this place. And they're coming to get them. The wind-voiced alien leaned forward. How can you be certain? Because that's what humans do, Stone said simply. We don't leave our people behind. Ever. Even if it costs us everything, even if we all die trying, we come for our own. New images appeared on the screens. Massive human fleets moving through space. More ships than the aliens had ever seen. In one place. But these weren't just military vessels. Stone could see civilian ships, cargo haulers, mining vessels, anything that could carry weapons or troops. My God, whispered one of the council members. How many ships do they have? Not enough, Stone said. But it won't matter, because every person on every one of those ships is fighting for someone they love. Every pilot, every soldier, every engineer is thinking about the people trapped in this station. They're not coming to win a war. They're coming to bring their families home. Veltar was frantically working at his control screens. Alert all coalition fleets. Prepare defensive positions. Ready the battle stations. But the other council members were looking at each other with worry. They had conquered dozens of worlds, enslaved hundreds of species, but they had never faced anything like this. There's more, the round alien said quietly. We're receiving communications from other species throughout the galaxy. The Andromedans want to know why we're holding prisoners without trial. The Centauri Alliance is asking about our prison policies. Even our own member species are questioning our methods. Stone realized what was happening. His words hadn't just reached humans. They had reached every species in the galaxy, and many of them were starting to ask uncomfortable questions about the Coalition's rule. You see, Stone said to Veltar, you made another mistake. You broadcast my interrogation to show other species how weak humans are, but instead you showed them something else entirely. What? You showed them what it looks like when someone refuses to be broken, when someone stands up to bullies and tyrants, when someone fights back against impossible odds because it's the right thing to do. The screens were now showing protests and demonstrations on coalition worlds. Species that had been conquered decades ago were remembering what freedom felt like. Humans aren't the only ones who love their families, Stone continued. We're not the only ones who miss their freedom. You've been ruling through fear for so long that you forgot. Eventually, someone always stands up to the bully. Veltar's confident smile was completely gone now. He looked around the room at his fellow council members, at the screens showing the approaching human fleet, at the reports of unrest throughout his empire. Today, I was that someone, Stone said quietly. Tomorrow, it might be the Cathari, or the Milani, or any of the other species you've conquered, because you showed them that it's possible to say no to the Coalition. You showed them that tyrants can be defied. The interrogation had backfired in ways Veltar had never imagined. He had wanted to break one human prisoner. Instead, he had started a revolution that was spreading across the galaxy, and the human fleet was still coming, carrying with it the fury of an entire species that refused to let their people suffer in silence. The alarm started blaring throughout the alien station 3 hours after Stone's broadcast ended. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and urgent announcements in the alien language echoed from hidden speakers. Stone could hear the panic in their voices even though he couldn't understand the words. From his cell, Stone listened to the sounds of running feet, shouted orders, and machinery powering up. The station was preparing for battle, but he wasn't worried. He had heard the fear in Veltar's voice, seen the confusion in the council members' eyes. The aliens were discovering what it meant to face an angry human fleet. The door to his cell opened, and 2 guards rushed in. They looked nervous, their usual calm confidence replaced by jerky movements and worried glances. "Come," one of them said in broken English. "Veltar wants you." Stone stood up slowly, taking his time. "Tell Veltar I'm not going anywhere." The guards looked at each other uncertainly. In the past, prisoners had always obeyed quickly, but something had changed. Stone's broadcast had shown other species that the coalition could be defied, and even these guards seemed unsure of their authority. "Please," the second guard said, almost politely. "Come now." Stone smiled. That single word, "please," told him everything he needed to know. The coalition's power was cracking. He followed the guards through corridors filled with activity. Alien technicians were running between control panels, their movements frantic and uncoordinated. Through the windows, Stone could see coalition, ships positioning themselves around the station, but their formations looked messy and confused. When they reached the interrogation room, Stone found chaos. Veltar was shouting at multiple screens showing different parts of the galaxy. The other council members were arguing among themselves in their alien language. Reports were flooding in from everywhere, and none of them seemed to be good news. "Ah, Captain Stone," Veltar said when he saw him. The alien's voice was strained and his skin had turned an unhealthy pale blue. "Your people are approaching our station." "I know," Stone said calmly. "We have 3,000 coalition ships defending this position. Your humans have brought maybe 800 vessels. Many of them are not even military ships. Do you really think they can win?" Stone looked at the screens showing the approaching human fleet. Veltar was right. It wasn't just warships. He could see cargo haulers fitted with weapons, mining ships carrying troops, even passenger liners that had been converted for battle. It looked like every human in the galaxy who could fly a ship had come to help. "Numbers don't matter," Stone said. "Of course they matter. This is mathematics, not emotion." "No," Stone replied. "This is love. And love doesn't count odds." On the screens, the human fleet was getting closer. Stone could see the ships moving in perfect formation, despite being made up of vessels from dozens of different worlds and organizations. They flew together like they shared one mind, one purpose. "We are willing to negotiate," Veltar said suddenly. "We can arrange an exchange. We return your captured personnel, and your fleet withdraws." Stone shook his head. "It's too late for that." "What do you mean?" "You didn't just capture humans," Stone explained. "You showed the galaxy what kind of rulers you really are. You broadcast my interrogation, remember? Every species in the coalition saw how you torture prisoners, how you mock the dead, how you threaten families." The wind-voiced council member spoke up. "The Andromedans have withdrawn from 3 joint operations. The Centauri Alliance has recalled their ambassadors. Even the hegemony is asking uncomfortable questions." "This is temporary," Veltar insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. "Once we defeat the human fleet, order will be restored." Stone laughed. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about defeating one fleet. This is about what happens next." More alarms started sounding. On the screen, Stone could see the human ships spreading out surrounding the station. But they weren't attacking yet. They were waiting for something. "What are they doing?" Veltar demanded. Stone knew, but he didn't answer. He watched the screens as small ships detached from the human fleet, rescue shuttles, medical vessels, transport craft. They were coming to get the prisoners. "Attention coalition forces. a voice said over the station's communication system. It was speaking in English, but Stone could hear it being translated into dozens of other languages. "This is Admiral Sarah Blake of the Terran Defense Fleet. We are here to retrieve our people. Stand down your weapons and allow our rescue teams to approach." Veltar turned to his weapons officers. "Destroy them." But nothing happened. The weapons officers looked at each other nervously, then at the council members, then back at Veltar. "I said destroy them." "Sir," one of the officers said quietly. "The other council members have not authorized weapons fire." Stone realized what was happening. The Coalition Council was fracturing. Some members wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate, and still others were probably thinking about switching sides entirely. The round council member spoke up. "Perhaps we should consider Admiral Blake's offer. We could avoid unnecessary bloodshed." "Coward," Veltar snarled. "We are the Coalition. We do not negotiate with primitives." But even as he spoke, Coalition ships around the station were beginning to move away. Not all of them, but enough to create gaps in their defensive formation. "The Cathari ships are withdrawing," reported another officer. "So are the Vegan cruisers, and the Tau Ceti squadron." Stone watched as the Coalition's Grand Alliance began to fall apart in real time. Species that had been forced into the Coalition were using this opportunity to break free. Others were simply unwilling to die defending a regime that tortured prisoners and mocked the dead. "This is what you never understood," Stone told Veltar. "Power built on fear only lasts as long as people are afraid. But once someone stands up, once someone shows that you can be defied, that fear starts to crumble." On the screens, human rescue shuttles were approaching the station. Coalition forces were too confused and disorganized to stop them effectively. Some alien ships were even escorting the human craft, protecting them from the few vessels still loyal to Veltar. "The station commander is requesting permission to lower shields and allow the rescue operation," an officer reported. "Permission? Denied," Veltar screamed. But the wind-voiced council member overruled him. "Permission granted. All personnel will cooperate with the human rescue teams." Stone felt a surge of relief and pride. His people were coming. Amy and Pete and all the other prisoners would go home. The rescue took 6 hours. Human teams moved through the station methodically, finding prisoners from dozens of different worlds. Not just humans, but members of other species who had been captured during Coalition expansion operations. They all went aboard the rescue ships, all of them free at last. Stone was among the last to leave. As he walked toward the shuttle bay, he passed Veltar in the corridor. The alien leader looked defeated, his glowing eyes dim and unfocused. "This isn't over," Veltar said weakly. Stone stopped and looked at him. "Yes, it is. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it's over, because now everyone knows that the Coalition can be beaten. Everyone knows that bullies can be stood up to. And everyone knows that sometimes love really is stronger than fear." The shuttle ride back to the human fleet was quiet. Stone sat with Amy and Pete, both of them alive and unharmed. Around them, other rescued prisoners from a dozen different species talked quietly among themselves, sharing stories and planning their return home. Through the shuttle window, Stone could see the Coalition station shrinking in the distance, but he could also see something else. Ships from the liberated species forming their own fleets, ready to reclaim their freedom. The galaxy was changing, and it had started with one human refusing to be broken. When they reached the flagship, Admiral Blake met them personally. She was a tall woman with gray hair and steady eyes, the kind of officer Stone had always respected. "Captain Stone," she said, shaking his hand. "The entire galaxy heard your broadcast. You've started something that's going to change everything." Stone thought about Lisa, about love and loss and the strength that humans found in both. "No, Admiral. I just reminded everyone of something they already knew. That freedom is worth fighting for, no matter what the odds." As the human fleet prepared to return home, Stone stood at the observation deck and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Coalition was struggling to hold its empire together. Other species were declaring independence, forming new alliances, choosing their own destinies. And at the center of it all was a simple truth that Stone had learned from a mining engineer who died saving her co-workers. That love, real love, could move mountains, topple empires, and light up the darkest corners of the galaxy. The stars looked brighter somehow, full of possibility and hope. The universe was about to become a very different place, and humanity had shown the way forward.